Nick Ferrari at Breakfast with Tom Swarbrick on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Robbie, I'll come to your call in a few moments. You want to talk about drug addiction in a sec. But I'm joined by the Minister, Michelle Donelan, Minister of State for Universities and Conservative MP for Chippenham. Lovely to see you this morning, Michelle. Thank you for coming on with us. I want to talk about, obviously, the vaccination rollout in a sec. But you're announcing 40,000 students will be able to study and work abroad thanks to the new Turing scheme. £110 million is going to go into this. What does that money buy? Morning.
Morning. So this is a real success story. We'd originally projected 35,000. We're now going to have over 40,000. These are students in colleges and schools and universities that will have the opportunity to go and work or study abroad of a minimum of 4 weeks, right the way up to a year. These will be life-changing opportunities. They'll be going to 150 countries across the globe, so much broader than the EU scheme of Erasmus. And also one of our priorities in this scheme was to really open it up to students from all types of backgrounds, and nearly 50% of students will be from disadvantaged backgrounds, which I think is absolutely fantastic. A key part of our levelling up agenda.
That's fantastic. But how many students are actually taking up this scheme? 40,000 places are available, but how many are actually taking it up?
It will be that exact amount. So over 40,000 students will be able to participate in this.
And so what do they get? What does the taxpayer get? What do my listeners get for that £110 million? What does that actually buy?
Yeah, so a student who would be going abroad, if they were a university student, would be getting a assistance with a stipend, just like you would with the EU scheme, to be able to afford to live out there. And also, if they're a disadvantaged student, the thing that we're doing differently is helping support with their costs of travel, with visa costs, with their passport, those types of things, to unlock those opportunities, to ensure that there's no barriers to them going and succeeding and learning. In some of the world's best universities, we're talking about Ivy League in America, the University of Sydney, Australia. These are fantastic.
Yeah, no, they're great opportunities. But I'm just interested in, if there are 40,000 plus students taking advantage of this scheme with 110 million quid going into it, that's less than $3,000 to potentially have to study for a year. And that doesn't cover tuition fees, let alone rent and accommodation and food and what have you.
Well, you can't really work it out like that, because some of these schemes will be for students in schools who will be doing 2 weeks away in Europe or further afield. And so it's not a direct calculation of per head. Also, tuition fees will be waived. What we've done is we've utilised the model that was already in existence, aside from Erasmus, but on a smaller scale, where students were travelling the globe and universities brokered those relationships with their counterparts.
So it'll be up to the universities to negotiate money off tuition fees?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it works already. And that's how it works with Erasmus, in essence, as well. And so there won't be tuition fees taken out of that 110 million. That 110 million is to fund the admin costs of universities, schools and colleges to set up these placements, to fund the individual students whilst they're there, and to remove some of those barriers that we talked about a moment ago for disadvantaged students.
Will students be funded to come to the UK?
Not funded to come to the UK, but we do anticipate and expect that the majority of the placements that are done at a university level especially will be more on a reciprocal basis. And that's what we're hearing from universities has been very popular. I've spoken to universities across the globe, and they're really eager to send their students here to the UK. We do have more of the world's top 100 universities than the whole of the EU combined. We've got 4 out of the top 10 universities. We are the second most popular destination for international students after America. So we have great pull factor to bring international students in, and we want to welcome them. They're an important part of our...
Yeah, and a big economy as well. There's a big economic benefit from having students come in. You mentioned the EU there. I just wonder whether the UK will charge EU nationals to enter the UK, as the EU is doing to UK nationals. It's going to cost €7 to get in. Will the UK follow suit?
So we have our visa plans already outlined. So if a student is coming here for under 6 months, then they can come on a visitor visa. If they're coming for longer, then they can apply for a student visa.
Sorry, these are holiday makers, though. I'm looking at the front page of today's Telegraph. British holiday makers to Europe will be forced to pay €7 to be allowed in. Will the British government do the same?
I believe we have no plans to do that, and I will leave that to the relevant department minister. But as far as I'm aware, we have no plans to do that.
On the vaccine rollout for younger people, I guess you're going to say that you're waiting for the JCVI advice before deciding on whether children over 16 16 and 17-year-olds should get the jab?
Yeah, so the advice from the JCVI is imminent, and then we'll announce in line with that. We have throughout this pandemic, though, always adopted what the JCVI have said. They're independent of government, but they are some of the leading scientists in this area. So it is important that we listen to them, and I'll be listening very closely to hear what they say about vaccinations.
And if they were to come forward to say not just 16 and 17-year-olds, but actually 12-year-olds, possibly younger, would benefit from vaccination, the government would presumably have to take that very seriously and follow that advice.
So I think anything that the JCVI say, we do take very seriously. As I said, they are the leading scientists in this area, and we look to them for advice on this, so that politicians are not making these decisions without that information at our fingertips.
Would you feel comfortable with
they're making isn't in regards to anything to do with
no, sure. But would you feel comfortable about that? Because in other nations they are doing that, of course, around the world they're vaccinating much younger children. I wonder whether you would feel comfortable about 12-year-old, 10-year-old perhaps being vaccinated for COVID.
I mean, I don't really want to speculate on something that hasn't been announced, and I don't think is due to be announced either. But I would feel what I feel comfortable in is really listening to the JCVI, who are the experts in this area. There are real important decisions, factoring the vulnerability of certain groups, but also their ability to spread the virus. Will that lead to mutations, etc.? These are the complex matters that need to really can be considered by those scientific experts. And I look forward to hearing from the JCVI imminently on what their latest decision is. Given
you're not willing to speak about a hypothetical, let me ask you about something that is happening. Sajid Javid is to review guidance on transgender patients being admitted to single-sex wards. I wonder whether you think that a trans woman should be allowed to go on a all-female NHS ward.
So I think it is right that we review this. The British nation, I've always found that my constituents are very much eager for us to be as inclusive as we possibly can, and as tolerant and as understanding as we possibly can. So it is important that we review every aspect in line with that.
There will be people, though, who say that even by reviewing this, it makes an assumption that trans women are not women.
So I think it's important that we look at this and we listen to those that are making representations on either side of the debate. And I look forward to speaking to the Secretary of State for Health and hearing what his findings are on this.
OK, Michelle Donelan, thank you for your time. You're Minister of State for Universities and Conservative MP for Chippenham. Robbie, you've been hanging on in Hornchurch. Hi, Robbie.
Good morning.
Your thoughts, sir?
Well, for me, it has to come down to the education of the young people, because as your previous callers have said, the drug war is over. Cocaine use. I know about that. I'm a recovering addict myself. Just celebrated 3 years from cocaine, and the variety of people that you're seeing. It's not the people that